Hello, I am Dras. Welcome to the stream slash YouTube video. Today, however, there is going to be a little bit different. As you can see, I'm not on my starting soon screen because I'm just gonna go straight in. We're just gonna stay in just chatting today. I just want to like talk. We're kind of forced to talk because it's kind of late and I didn't want to start any sort of game and then only played for like 1 hour. Because I feel like any game that I'm playing right now, I can't really do that with. Anyway, welcome. I am going to be chatting briefly about, what did I name this? Bad game systems and bosses. So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. I'm trying to gather my thought. I probably should have done this before I started streaming, but you know what? Whatever. We take this as they come. So, hello Haley, welcome. We're just chatting a little bit today. What was I gonna say? Oh yes, bad game systems and bosses. So this is coming from me having or playing specifically Elden Ring and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep recently, but also because I played a little bit of Chain of Memories as well. And sometimes games just have bad game systems, right? Let's take Birth by Sleep's abilities, the way you unlock abilities. You unlock them by melding. And the abilities are randomly given to you based on, you know, what material you use to get certain abilities. And things like that. Maybe I should lower the volume of this a little bit more. There we go. Which, in a game that has a difficulty mode called Critical, where your HP is halved compared to regular gameplay, or any of the other modes, and then bosses having combos that literally will one-shot you if you do not have certain abilities. In Kingdom Hearts, these abilities I'm thinking about are specifically Second Chance and Once More. As well as Leaf Bracer, which makes you, you know, immune. You get iframes when you heal. So when you have a game system that will randomly give you abilities when you meld and you don't have things that can be melded because you don't know the recipes. Even though the game has a recipe system, I never really figured out, I haven't figured out how to read said recipes. There might be a way, I might just be stupid, but right now I just feel like I'm just doing random stuff and getting the abilities that I'm getting, you know? So that's not great. Yeah, it is just luck based, exactly. You can't see the chat right now, but there is someone in the Twitch chat that is chatting. It is Haikyuu Girl who is chatting with me right now. But yeah, the abilities are just luck based. And when three abilities are basically required to have for you to play the game anywhere normally without resorting to cheesy commands that have invincibility frames like Thunder Surge or your shot lock. I'm thinking specifically about Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep now. Then it doesn't really feel good when you die, because you can't break out of the combo, Because the boss stun locks you for the entire duration of said combo, and then you just die because you don't have once more or second chance. I don't remember which one of them hinders you from dying to a combo attack, as long as you weren't hit with 1 health, but one of them does. Twitch chat is going to experience an ad break in like 50 seconds, but they'll just have to deal with it. Which leads to annoying boss fights, like the boss fight I had against Terra Xehanort yesterday, in the last part of Terra's storyline. After his body had gotten taken over and his will had inhabited his suit of armor. You know? Couple that with Terra Xehanort having invincibility frames in his dodge, and how he would spam his dodge whenever you used shot locks, so you would never get that guaranteed shot lock damage on him because it would basically be random and RNG based if you hit him or not. Which leads me into like bad bosses. I wouldn't say Terra Xehanort is a bad boss as long as you have set abilities that are locked behind, you know, luck-based melding. But there are, when it comes to bad bosses or bosses that get ruined by like 1 or 2 mechanics that they have, then, or at least in my eyes, then you don't have to look anywhere farther than Malenia, the Blade of Miquella in Elden Ring. A lot of people will praise Malenia for being the hardest boss that From Software has ever made. And yes, they are right, she is hard. But she's not hard because her abilities are, or her attacks do a lot of damage, or her attacks are like well designed, or like, I mean, she's not hard because she's a skill check. She's hard because she heals, and because Waterfowl Dance is borderline unfair to dodge. Like, you have to basically be almost picture perfect, not picture perfect, but frame perfect to dodge it properly, because it hits multiple times and you have to like be very specific where and when you dodge it, which obviously, yes, you can learn that, but then again, she doesn't do any sort of elemental damage, right? Like, she does pure physical damage. And so you'd think, oh, I'll just go in with a shield and I'll block the entire thing. No, because then she just heals back up to full health, because every time she hits something, doesn't matter if it's you, doesn't matter if she does damage, she will heal, I think it's like 2% of her health, maybe 3% of her health. She heals a decent amount. She heals like 1,000, like 1.4k damage or something. It is ridiculous how much she heals. She heals, it might even be, she might even heal 10% of her health every time she hits. I don't think she does. It's probably more like 5%. But considering Waterfowl Dance hits at least 20 times, she'll just heal all the way back to full, right? The moment she hits. And to me, that's not a good design, right? That's bad design, because now you're just being unfair to the player. The most common playstyle in a Soulsborne game is to use a shield, at least for casual players. For casual players who play through the game, they will typically always use a shield. And they would typically always use either a strength-based build or a dexterity-based build. That's usually how casual players play the game. typically. And they will just get walled by Malenia hard because she heals. Like she outputs so much healing that they just cannot get past her without resorting to, you know, using a Spirit Dash, which is perfectly viable, and the game is about using the tools that you find to overcome the obstacle that you face, right? Which some people will scrutinize you for, be like, oh my god, I can't believe you used this weapon, or you can't believe you used this mechanic of the game that is fully there to be used. That's an entirely different conversation we're not going to talk about right now. But in my eyes, Malenia is... She's unfair and unbalanced. And that is why she's hard. She's not hard because her moveset is difficult to dodge. A lot of her attacks are pretty easy to dodge and very well telegraphed. Except her kick, which she can just do randomly at times, sometimes, which whatever. But yeah, in my eyes, Malenia is not a great boss to fight. But because again, she's unfair and unbalanced. And then I want to go into the DLC bosses. A bunch of the DLC bosses are also bosses that I would consider not particularly great bosses, but for a different reason, right? If we look at Promised Consort Radahn, how many attacks does he do in a row before you get like 1 or 2 seconds of an opening window against him, which you can do like 1 attack, maybe 2 attacks, and then he starts the entire process over again, and you just have to keep dodging for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. That's probably put a little bit on the extreme end. It's probably not that much, but it feels that much. And he's not the only boss that does this. Messmer also does this to a certain degree, but Messmer at least leaves larger opening windows. Rellana is also one of those bosses that just keep attacking and leave very short opening windows for you to do damage in, which I don't think is particularly great. It doesn't really make them difficult more than they just make them tedious and dodge simulators. Like, you just dodge for 10 seconds and then you attack 2 times and you keep dodging for 10 seconds. It's not great boss design, because in games such as Soulsborne games specifically, the way good bosses to me is that there's like a trade. It's like you attack a couple of, like the boss attacks 2 to 3 times, then you get to attack 2 to 3 times in that opening. Obviously depending on your weapon of choice. If you have a big heavy weapon, you're only gonna be able to land like maybe 1 or 2 attacks. But if you have a small, faster weapon, maybe you get 4, 5 attacks, right? But you mostly get the same amount of damage. Also, hello Noxy, hello. You can't see the chat on screen because I'm just rambling right now about bosses. But then in the DLC of Elden Ring, you also have really great bosses such as Baal, which does have that he does 1 to 3 attacks that, and then he leaves himself open for 1 to 2 attacks as well. So you do have that trade with Baal. Now, Baal can be rough if you're not prepared for him, but God, Baal is such a good boss fight. Just the spectacle and the arena and everything. Mesmer is also a good boss fight, don't get me wrong, but he borderlines on that time, the amount of time he dodges. He attacks versus how much you get to attack, right? Are there any other bosses in other games that I can talk about that are bad? Does chat have any bosses they don't like in video games? Chat, do you have anything? Noxy, Haley. I'm trying to think of there's other bad game systems. Oh right, I never really talked about the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories combat system. But that combat system... Okay, so let's talk about the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories combat system a little bit. We're jumping a little bit. We went from Kingdom Hearts to Elden Ring and then now back to Kingdom Hearts again. But who cares? I'm just gonna talk for like a little bit of time before I end stream anyway. The combat system in Chain of Memories works well in the Game Boy version, or the Game Boy Advanced version of that game. It does not work in the remake, or not. Yes, it is a remake. It does not work in the PS2 3D version of the game because the combat is sped up. And the whole countering cards things doesn't really work because the game is too fast, right? On the Game Boy Advanced version of in the Game Boy Advanced version of the game, the combat is a lot slower, so you have that time to find the right card, although quickly, and then countering the opponent's cards. And that is an example of a game system that works on one platform, but not on something else, right? And there's a couple of game systems like that. Like, you don't want to have an FPS game on a freaking handheld console. That's not gonna end well for you. It's gonna be pretty tedious to play. It's not impossible to play, but it's not going to be that fun, right? Because that is way more of a like you need like a screen or a controller or keyboard and mouse, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I don't really know what else to touch on when it comes to like bad game systems and bosses. I could talk about how... I mean, I could talk about Final Fantasy XIV as well. This isn't like a game system per se. This is more just, you know, about sometimes games, they step on the gas, right? If that makes sense. And they sort of build momentum on the story or combat or whatever. And then they just sort of break. Just boom. Momentum gone. And this happened in Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail at the end, where they just sort of... And this is more story-based, not really game system-based or boss-based. But you know, it's fine. Where they just sort of... They build momentum, and then they just stop it all. No more momentum. Now you're walking around talking to people about their days. For some reason. I don't know why. You just do it. Which is also not great. If you're an up-and-coming game developer, please don't do that. If you're gonna have a... If you're building up to like the final parts of the game, don't just randomly step on the... Don't just step on the brake and completely halt all the momentum that you're building up. It feels bad for the player. Oh, when it comes to bad bosses in Final Fantasy XIV, though, the first boss in one of the max level dungeons now is like this sort of toy. Is like this big possessed toy king, which summons a bunch of smaller dolls that will like walk across the room. And there is a targeting system for those things. I think the first wave they target the enemies they target the players the furthest away from them, and then for like the second wave they target the players that are closest to them. I think that's how it works. However, because you're pairing up with random people, no one is gonna follow like a strategy for those bosses. They're just gonna run around and try not to get hit. So the targeting system is thrown all out of whack on that boss, and these dolls they just run around the freaking map across in very random patterns, and you have to dodge them. And if you get hit, you get rooted in place, like you can't move, and the boss will then summon a doll head up on top of you, or a plushie head, which will then land on you, and now you can't use your skills, you can't use your heals, your abilities, your attacks, anything, and you move really, really slow. And because I'm a melee player, I hate that boss so much. It is so badly designed from a melee point of view, because you just constantly have to. Well, there are obviously ways you can dodge while being close, but I don't know. I just don't like that as a boss. I don't want to say it's a badly designed boss, because there is ways to bait these things to go where you want them to go, but again, no one's going to do that in a randomized group, and it's very subjective. That is a very subjectively bad boss. Now, I talked about Malenia earlier, which is also a very subjectively bad boss, although I feel like I have a little more objectivity there than anything. God, Elden Ring has a lot of pretty bad bosses. Like, they're great. There's the spectacle in them are awesome, right? But fighting the boss itself is kind of annoying. Fire Giant is just way too big. His arena is too huge. He rolls around and you have to spend like 10 seconds just catching up to him on your mount. So it's like, what? Any boss that is like a okay, so there are very few fights. Actually, there are no double boss fights in Elden Ring that are designed to be fought as those two bosses, right? And if there are, there's like maybe there's like one maybe that is like that. But every boss that you fight that are multiple bosses in Elden Ring are bosses that are designed to be fought one-on-one, but now you're fighting two of them. Specifically, I'm looking at the Watch Dogs and the Godskin duo. Like, the Godskin duo is such a badly designed fight, because both of those enemies will attack you at the same time and just hound you, because they need to be well-designed solo bosses, because you fight those bosses twice. You fight both those two bosses twice by themselves elsewhere in the game. So they have to be designed to be fought against one player, like solo, right? And they did this so many times in Elden Ring that it's not even funny that they just throw two bosses. It's like, oh, well, hey, you fought one of these bosses, time to fight two of them at the same time. It's like, that's not a good boss. That's a bad boss. That's just annoying. It's tedious. And again, it just makes it so that you dodge way too often. A good double, like, two boss fight is a boss where the entire boss fight is designed around to be fought 1 versus 2. Where one of the bosses will be a ranged character, like maybe a semi-ranged, and only really do melee attacks if they are the closest one to you. Or if you are inside their melee range, right? But otherwise they would use ranged abilities. Or the bosses would like alternate between who is active and who is not active. A good example of this is the Twin Princes in Dark Souls 3, the Ringed City DLC, where only ever one of the bosses is active at the same time, with the other one doing occasional ranged attacks against you while you're fighting the active one. That is a pretty good boss because it's designed to be fought 2 versus 1. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say, really, because I just needed to get in a short stream today, because I wanted to get in a stream today. I have to get in the stream every single day, and I just didn't have time for a big one. If you're watching this on YouTube, then by all means feel free to disagree with me. If you're being mean in the comments or saying something along the lines of "get good" to what I've been saying, then I'll probably just delete your comment. Unless you make it funny. If you make it funny, then I'll let it stay. But yeah, remember, like, everything that I've said is pretty subjective. Again, I think there's a little bit of an objectivity here, but a lot of things are subjective. Yeah, just get good, forehead. Just get good, forehead. Just spend 15 seconds dodging and then get to attack for 2 seconds. And then do the entire dance over again. Yes, good design. No, bad design. Very bad design. Anyway. Again, thank you for watching. I'm sorry this was a non-gaming stream. That was just chatting briefly about bad game systems and bosses. Yeah, make those 2 seconds count. Yeah, you just bring the biggest bonk stick that you can find and just do one attack that takes 2 seconds to charge up. That does like a third of the boss's health in one attack. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could do that, because then the boss only lasts 45 seconds. That's what she said. That's what he said. Anyway. Then the boss only lasts 45 seconds. No, that is what she said. That's what the subordinate said? I don't know. Oh, bad jokes aside. My name has been Draz Bahamut. Please subscribe to my YouTube. Please follow me on Twitch. I will occasionally be funny. I will occasionally be angry at video games. Not often. And yeah. I hope I see you in my stream sometime, people over there on YouTube. We have a nice community here. You can't see them right now because I don't have chat on screen right now. But they're there. Like right there. You just gotta trust me. Anyway, bye-bye. I hope everybody have a wonderful rest of their day, night, evening, whatnot. And I will be back tomorrow with Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Aqua route. Alright, bye-bye. See you tomorrow.